We begin with the security situation in Ukraine. Washington says a massive gas pipeline running through Ukraine would not move forward if Russia invades. The US State Department said Washington would work with Germany to ensure the Nord Stream 2 pipeline would be halted. The project is designed to increase gas flow from Russia to Germany. On Wednesday, the US and NATO gave formal responses to Russia's demands for NATO to stop expanding eastwards and rule out the possibility of Ukraine joining the alliance. Details have not been published, but US Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the American response reiterates Washington's stance and set out a path of diplomacy. Blinken will speak with his Russian counterpart Sergey Lavrov in the coming days.
Our response to Russia reflects what I said in Kyiv, Berlin, and Geneva last week. We're open to dialogue. We prefer diplomacy. And we're prepared to move forward where there is the possibility of communication and cooperation if Russia de-escalates its aggression toward Ukraine.
Russia has stationed a large number of troops at the Ukrainian border, and that's led Western governments to say Russia is preparing to invade Ukraine. It's a claim that Moscow denies. Talks between envoys from Russia, Ukraine, Germany and France were held in Paris on Wednesday. Ryan Thompson has more on that.
It's been a long day of talks at the French presidential palace. We had actually only expected them to go on for about 3 or 4 hours at the latest when they first convened at noon local time. But they stretched late into the evening, and early press conferences that were planned for the early afternoon at the Russian and Ukrainian embassy were ultimately scrapped as reporters waited around waiting for news. The European Union really sees these Normandy format talks as the way out of this crisis and the solution for them because it keeps European interests paramount. Notably, Europe is concerned about security, sovereignty, and this big question over energy. Take a listen to the German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock speaking earlier.
Our common goal in this conflict is and remains the defense of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, without any ifs, ands, or buts. Any further aggression by Russia against Ukraine would have serious consequences, politically, strategically, as well as economically and financially.
Now that is the view from the West, but in Moscow there is concern that European involvement in this process could actually prolong the timing, meaning it would take much longer to actually reach a resolution because European countries seem to be a bit fragmented in terms of the question of sanctions or what outcome they would like to get out of this. Sergey Lavrov speaking earlier, the Russian foreign minister, saying that they need constructive answers very soon.
If
there is no constructive answer, and if the West continues its aggressive course, Moscow, as President Vladimir Putin has repeatedly said, will take the necessary retaliatory measures.
Now, as Moscow waits for more news from these countries, there is a sense among different European capitals that Russia has made up its mind in terms of what the next steps are here, but diplomats are crossing their fingers that they will return to this negotiating table and potentially reach a consensus. Ryan Thompson, CGTN, Paris.